not so warm that they need to seek shade right now. The two lionesses chasing giraffe up on teat of cut line, or half-heartedly chasing giraffe. They weren't really making a very concerted effort to catch one. And in the interim they have crossed over occasionally. Most recently there was some excitement. I was on leave at the time, probably last week sometime. Some great excitement when there was a couple of leopard here. The two lionesses chased a leopard up a tree here at Twin Dams. I think they had a giraffe kill, if I'm not mistaken, and there was some elephant involved. It was one of those extremely exciting days. Well, it's possible that today can turn into a little bit of excitement, because there are regular visitors to this waterhole during the day, including a couple of buffalo bulls that are probably somewhere out in the bush at the moment, and making their way down here, expecting to wallow in the mud all day, and probably not expecting to find it occupied by cats. However, animals are very perceptive, and I'm pretty sure that any buffalo that might have had ideas on Twin Dams this morning have probably heard all the roaring, and are probably not going to be coming down here. Who knows? It's a wait and see game. Let's see. They are just behind the damn wall. They haven't moved far, just behind the tree, behind the middle there. Looks like that was there to stop cars driving. Or there's an elephant that left there, I wonder. Lying in the shade. Interestingly, the squirrel that is calling and the starling that we're calling, I'm not that they're in a different area. I doubt whether they can see these cats. Go ahead. Oh, interesting. Vicky. Morning, Vicky. Did she get kicked out of her pride? No. Not really. Lionesses aren't really in the habit of getting kicked out of prides, Vicky. She would have... At the moment, as far as I know, the pride is only the two lionesses. Hoping that some of this mating that we've been seeing is going to result in something. Oh, there we go, with an answer to things. Very interesting. Unfortunately, it happened behind the bushes for us, but I can explain to you what happened. The two of them came to lie down just behind the damn wall, and the brother, knowing now that they are here, he's going to come around this side. He couldn't see them, and so he thought they might have headed further south. Now, he's been very good about keeping his distance up until now, and I was asked not many minutes ago whether they would fight. And of course what happened is that he poked his head above the damn wall, and it was just too close for comfort for this bigger male, who actually chased him off. In fact, both of the cats kind of got aggressive with him and made him keep his distance. I think that's all it really takes. But you see, And now he's growling, the old man. He's lifting. He's doing the Elvis growl. This old man does sort of lifts the one lip and he's just twitching his upper lip, and there's a low growl emanating from him, just to keep the other one away. I don't think the other one had any intention of interfering. He just didn't realize they were so close, and he poked his head up the wall, over the wall. But interesting, very interesting. When we were down in the riverbed, and we had been following the second male, and we went down and around into the riverbed, and we found him again, and then we saw the couple that was sleeping on the sand. There was a moment when she got up and she started doing her playful thing on the tree, that the male stood up, and then he suddenly noticed the brother sitting nearby. But the distance was enough that all he had to do was just look at him with daggers, and he knew from that distance that there wouldn't be any confrontation or any need for more than just a glare. And obviously the closer the other male gets, the more aggressive this male will get to keep him away. And being the submissive male, being a smaller male that is constantly being dominated by this male, he's not going to try his luck. The interesting thing is that you will find that if there isn't a female in estrus, or if there isn't a female around, they'll lie together, they'll sleep together, they'll lie, as we've seen, with one with his paw on the other one's flank, or touching even. And actually being quite emotional with each other, because they are close, but it's now that this male doesn't want any contact with his brother. He's only got eyes for her, and there's a very good chance, and I hope that they're going to be here at Djuma for the next few days, because they'll probably be alternating between here and Baboon Pan, just south of us, and with a little bit of luck heading further north. But not really likely, because the Styx are more a southern pride, and so it's most likely that they're gonna, I hope, stay around here, and we'll be able to see. And even if we can't see, maybe we'll be able to follow it through the information we get from other guides about how this is progressing, how long it's going to take. Because I would imagine, my guess is, and unless it started yesterday, my guess is that this is all something that was initiated this morning. We had tracks of the males coming south, and while following them and expecting that maybe we had lost them, that maybe they had already crossed over into the south, we were lucky enough just before opening on drive to find out that the males had hooked up with this female from the Styx, and they were in fact still on Djuma property. Questions that have been asked in the past amongst the viewers have been, how long does the estrus last? Do both males mate with the female? How long does each male mate with her? There are bunches of questions that really can't be answered until we get the chance to observe them doing so, and here is the perfect opportunity. He didn't realize that they were so close when he popped his head over the wall. Can you get through here, Tom?
I'm going to have a quick look at them again.
Sure. Sorry. I was talking to you and all the viewers.
That's fun. Fun. You know how they do it, like as if they sitting in your hand or under your hand. So I had it. That's fun. Got it away. Fun.
To the west and let them be, but doesn't seem to have been any major damage. Go ahead. And hopefully everything is fine now. Had a very interesting question from Rena, wanting to know if they were to make a kill now, would they share it with the other brother? By the way, the other male, his name is Ginger. I don't know who he is. There has been a dominant male in the coalition of males of the Matimbas that was called Induna, but I can't be sure whether this is the male that we call Induna. But interesting question from Rena. I think personally, I think unlikely. I think based on the fact that she might be coming into estrus and that they're about to go into a mating session, and based on his behavior towards Ginger, the smaller male, that I think if there was to be a kill now, they would still make him keep his distance. So I think it's quite possible that whether it's just in the social situation or whether it is on a kill, they would still be quite aggressive towards him, unfortunately. And he would have to wait then until they were fed and moved off of the kill for him to come in and feed. The go-away birds are now starting to alarm. You can hear that. When they get a little bit more intense or a little bit more insistent, it sounds like go away. Go away. But for now it's just a way. That alone is enough to keep the likes of the buffalo away from the dam. He lifted his head because the francolin ran past. Fortunately the francolin didn't alarm. I don't even think the francolin or the spurfowl even saw the lion. Very attentive. He's listening. I mean, with all the vehicles and all the other noise that there might be around, he's going to tune that out. His brain will tune all the other noise out, and he might hear a twig crack. He's listening, no doubt, to the sound of these alarming birds. Possibly, there was another francolin on the dam wall. That's what it was. And now you can see how he relaxes that attitude. You can almost see the expression change when they are concentrating on something, when they're listening to something. Of course, when they're watching something, that's very, very easy to see. Excuse me a second. Markia, go ahead. Yeah, you're welcome, alright? Well, where about you now? Okay, copy. You should get me visual. With my daughter and my Fazi. My daughter is on the other side of the wall at the Mati. This is a limited view of these two. Almost like only one vehicle can see. So I'm going to go around and see what the other male is up to, and see if we can see what the go-away birds are shouting at, if it is in fact the lion. And I'm going to let another vehicle come and view these two with their guests. Right behind the wall, damn wall, so it's maybe go around the side rather than come over. You almost be on top of them. Yep, there he is. So maybe we don't even have to go too far. Found himself a spot in the shade. Alright, copy that, thanks Ron. I'm just going to sit here for a bit because I can, if the other two move, I'll be able to see them as well. I'm guessing that all the alarming is due to the lion being here. That goings on, he's not going to really get much interested in hunting on his own. And I don't think, unless the opportunity arose for them to really be sure about making a kill, if for instance buffalo came down and they were managed to surprise it, I think that most likely, even though they're both looking a little bit skinny, not skinny, wrong word, their tummies look a little bit empty. They're not by no means skinny lion. They are most certainly very large and very healthy lion, and she's in immaculate condition. Well, she's a really healthy lioness. So I don't think they're in that much need of a kill right now. I'm sure they could eat though. Copy that, was thinking the same thing. In the last 15 to 20 minutes, the temperature has risen considerably. I'm fairly confident that there's not really much going to be happening in terms of where they go. They're going to most likely be around here for the rest of the day, for most of the rest of the day. I think, if anything, there might be the odd interaction between that male and the female as the day wears on, whether it be in the shade. I think what might happen is, if he falls asleep, she might try and get up and sneak off, and he'll maybe hear her getting up and maybe then follow her. So I'm thinking, and I'm hoping you all agree with me, but I'm thinking that what we can do is, I'm hoping to come back here this afternoon. Hopefully we can follow up on what we've been seeing this morning. At the moment it seems to be sort of a static situation. They're lying down, they're sleeping. And we haven't really done much this morning, so I wonder if we shouldn't maybe just spend another bit of time driving around. We'll go to maybe another waterhole or two. We'll see if we can find some birds and, of course, some other larger mammals. And I hope that maybe we can fill up the morning with some other things. So we're going to just go around and have one more look at him from a different angle. And maybe just a couple more minutes, and then I think we'll go and see what else Djuma can find, or other Djuma can offer us on this really beautiful Wednesday morning here in the Greater Kruger National Park of South Africa. Millions and millions of acres of wildlife, and we happen to find some of the most exciting things that it has to offer, and hopefully more exciting things on offer out there. I want to sit for a little bit, just for a few minutes in the shade, and we'll see if anything else changes. So before you zoom, move a little bit forward so that this other vehicle can get closer, get in as well, share the sighting. Must be coming back this way.
They've been running east the whole morning. We were on Elephant Plains and Sibambili, but the general direction is the east over.
Okay. So likely to come back onto Gary Main maybe.
I'm hoping they decide to get to our waterhole and have a siesta. But probably.
There's still a ways to go. I think let's leave some guests to enjoy this in peace. And while we're heading off, I can address another question that's come in. Question came in. Was it Angela? I think. No, it was Brandy. Sorry, Brandy. But Brandy was asking about the dominance of the two. Which one is the more dominant than the other? I'm not too sure which one they call Ginger, actually, Brandy. I've got some interesting news too that's just coming over the radio. I'll get to that in a second. Just answer Brandy's question first. Brandy wanted to know, well, it's saying that she thought that the other male, or rather this male that we were with now, this one, was the dominant of the two because we saw him engaging in dominant behavior the other day. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to look at photos or see. I don't know if I took any photos of the other day when we arrived at Buffelshoek Dam, when we found them at Buffelshoek Dam the other day. As we arrived, we had the one male covering the other male in almost a sexual manner, although it wasn't necessarily a sexual act. It was more a case of asserting dominance. Now, the key is there. Which of the males was doing that? Now, let's not talk about names, because I think names can get confusing. I'm not even sure myself which of these two is Ginger. And so let's forget about names. Let's talk about the big one and the smaller one, because there is a slightly different size to the two of them. And there was most certainly on Sunday morning a marked difference in size. That's marked with a K, not marked with a C. But there was a marked difference in size because the larger of the males had a much bigger belly. The smaller male is the one who has the injury to his paw. He's had that injury on his paw. It's been like a wound that he obviously worries it from time to time. He probably lies down and he licks it, and I'm sure the flies bother it a lot. So if somebody can maybe let me know, if somebody has any idea which of the one that was asserting dominance on Sunday, unless, Brandy, you're talking about an incident that might have occurred some other time. Excuse me, I need to just talk on the radio. Stations, I'm leaving the lock of Ngala at Twin Dams, leaving Ryan on lock. Space for two. Now the other news, and I'm just listening again on the radio, when I go quiet like that all of a sudden is usually because I'm hearing the other vehicles, the safari vehicles on the safari radio, giving an update to what's going on. And some other wonderful news is that the wild dog that we followed west the other morning with all of that activity, I mean, we've had some really fantastic mornings the last few mornings. The wild dog that moved so far west the other morning have been steadily heading east. Here lion tracks on this road, so this is where they must have split up. They must have come off of quarantine and now they split up. Well, not now, but they must have split up. The one male came down here, the other male went onto Gari Main, and then they joined up again. That's when we heard them calling. Sorry, I interrupted myself. Quite a common occurrence actually. But the wild dog have been steadily heading east, pretty much the same path that they went west a few days ago. Unfortunately, they're still a little bit further west of Arethusa, and they are heading east. They might head to Arethusa Waterhole. We are heading west, and hopefully there might be some coinciding, some place where our paths collide if they are going to continue. Unfortunately, we've got time and temperature against us, in that it's reaching a point in the morning where it's starting to get warm, and the dogs, having evidently been on the run and been on the move for most of the morning already, are probably going to be getting hot and tired. And when they get to Arethusa Dam, if they haven't been there already, it'd be nice to know, any of the viewers who might be viewing Arethusa, the webcam, or rather the camera at Arethusa, to immediately let us know when the dogs get there. If we have time, maybe we'll try and get over there. It's a race against time at the moment, because the dogs are heading east. It's starting to get warm. They've got this big dam with a lot of shade and a lot of space to lie around. There's going to be animals around the dam if they want to go hunting later. So it's a very good chance that they might end up stopping somewhere around the dam and hopefully spending some time there in the shade. But good news in that there's a good chance that later on in the day they might continue running east, which will bring them, with a little bit of luck, bring them onto Djuma. That would be super, super. So let's head west a little bit, and when I get closer to Arethusa, I can find out from the guys on Arethusa where these dogs are. In the interim, we're going to stop off at Treehouse Dam. What's interesting around Treehouse Dam is, for months now, we've been observing a bachelor herd of impala that live around this area between, I'd say, Gowrie Main, Treehouse Dam, Philemon's Cutline. These impala rams have been in a bachelor herd and have been pretty amicable towards each other. They do, even in the bachelor herd, they do keep their personal space, and they have a hierarchy right throughout the year that is occasionally challenged, but it is only now that they're starting to get into the rut that real challenges take place. And some of the older rams from the bachelor herd will be breaking away and will be establishing their lecks, their territories, their rutting spots, where they will have a dust bowl and a midden where they will defecate, and they will try their best to herd a group of females and maintain a harem of females within that area throughout the mating season, which is going to last for the next month and a half. And so it'll be interesting if we can find this bachelor herd of impala and see if we can see some of the beginnings of the impala rutting season starting to happen. Males chasing each other around. I believe Steph and Scott witnessed some of that yesterday. Or was it you? Another thing that unfortunately I was on leave, and I'm not sure when it happened, because at home it was somewhere just after about the 3rd of April when suddenly the woodlands kingfishers were gone, and it was quite a common thing this time of the day to come to Treehouse Dam and to see the woodlands kingfishers having their daily bath, where they'd be sitting in one of the trees on the edge and flopping into the water, splashing into the water and flying back into the tree to shake it off and to preen. And If there was ever something conspicuous by its absence, it's the woodlands kingfishers now, and we're going to have to wait until about the first week in November before we see them again. Having lost the woodlands kingfishers, their rivals, the brown-hooded kingfishers, are starting to become more prominent. They seem to take a little bit of a back seat when their migratory cousins arrive from Central Africa, and so we don't see them as much as we do, or we're going to, moving into the dry season. Starling behind us, making a lovely song. Other than that, I'm going to take a quick scan with my binoculars and see what I can find around the water or in the distance in the... So I want to see if I can see the flick of an impala tail off in the bush. I'm not even seeing the usual waders that we find around the edges of the water, the three-banded plovers, the thickneys, the water thickneys, and the occasional wood sandpiper. What I am seeing though is an accumulation of algae that is starting to develop. And of course, depending on which way the wind is blowing, that determines which side of the water the algae starts accumulating. Can reach a point where the entire surface of the dam becomes just this algae-filled pond, and in some cases can actually turn toxic. Okay, thank you Final Control, mentioning that a few of you viewers have sent in some pictures. Thank you very much for doing so, sending in some pictures of the Styx pride. That's wonderful to have that, thank you very much. I'm not sure, while I'm stopped here quickly, I'm not sure if we can get that on camera, but I've often been asked, when we are at, can you see the edge of the water there? Was the gunnel too, no, a little bit too close. The plant that's growing, the greenery, is a little bit of it stretching out into the water. It's a plant known as Ludwigia, and it's a very prominent plant in the water at Arathusa Lodge. There's a little bit of it at Djuma Dam. There's some now. You can see as the water recedes, the plant is left high and dry, and it is pretty much water dependent. For those plants that have still got tendrils and arms into the water, they're still doing okay, but slowly but surely as the water recedes, the plant dies off until the water comes back again in the next wet season. We have, for some unknown reason, possibly because of the buffalo activity that we have at this dam, being a very small dam and occasionally having up to even 20 buffalo, they probably trample it, and their activity prevents this Ludwigia from spreading as much as it has at a place like Arathusa Dam. And despite the activity at Arathusa Dam, there are a lot of hippo there, and no doubt buffalo and elephant that also utilize it because it's a very deep water, it's like cleaner water. Despite all of that activity, somehow there still seems to be an excessive amount of the Ludwigia, but it will probably be dying off as the dry season wears on. It's an interesting plant. I'm not too sure if it is related to the bladderwort, but it has a very similar physiology in that roots of the plant are aquatic roots that have these swellings with air bubbles in them in the plant cells, and they create floats, and that's what allows the plant to float. And I guess very similar to the plant known as bladderwort. Maybe I need to do a little bit of research into that myself. Any Western Station copy? Arena track. Saw something moving there at the base of that tree. Now we're going to take Gary Main. No, where these impala are. Normally there's some of them around. Also, the same bachelor herd that used to have that one ram that had one horn. And what's going to be very interesting in the rutting season is to see how he fares. And unfortunately, in the next couple of weeks, still here for the next couple of weeks, so we are hopefully going to be able to witness some of the rutting behavior of these impala, and it'll be very interesting to see how he does manage to compete with only one horn. Like a boxer fighting with his one hand tied behind his back. Old lion tracks where these males came back to the north, probably yesterday. warthog running away. I saw it before you, Ben.
Yeah.
There he is, coming closer to the road, running parallel with us. Stop. Oh, a magnificent warthog. Wow, he's huge. He, she. Must check. Normally it's easy to tell with the curve of the tusk, but this warthog is a little bit different. A big male. Oh, and he goes away. Stop, Mr. Warthog. Look at that. His tusks are like... Man, what a warthog. You're not likely to see a bigger warthog than that. And a warthog of that size is about to cross the road again. Right ahead of us. I don't want to chase him. I don't want to give him the impression that I'm chasing him. I want to get here where the road extends ahead of us, if he hasn't crossed already. Getting very dense here, so he might have stopped. We might have carried on running and I couldn't see him. There he is, straight ahead of us. Still going to come out onto the road. We can just trotting. He's not exactly running away. He's trotting. I think he's still is affected a little bit by our presence. The warthog here, no matter how habituated and how relaxed most of the animals get, for some reason the warthog are all usually very nervous, unless they are warthog that are closer to the lodges, that spend time on the lawns of the lodges. They get accustomed to people, but out in the bush the warthog tend to be a little bit nervous. Not being pig family, they are extremely intelligent, so one would think that they would learn that we are not a threat to them. We're not here to hurt them. I don't know where he's gone now. Might have gone back to a burrow, and there's a big termite mound off to the left. Well, he lives around here. I wonder if he's not maybe the same warthog we've seen. There's a termite mound with a warthog burrow. We're on Spam Road now. We're coming up to a junction that leads back down to Treehouse Dam, so we're almost in a triangle. And we've quite often, when I've come to Treehouse Dam in the early mornings, we come around the bend where that termite mound is, and the warthog just bursts out of the termite mound and runs away. It could be the same warthog, and it could be that he lives there, so I'm hoping maybe we'll get to see him again. I think we got a fairly good shot of him now. Yeah. Even if most of it was running away. Of exceptionally large termite mounds, and there are no doubt several of them that house warthogs, and no doubt most of the females within this immediate area would be his females and his families that they are raising. Being of such a big warthog would be quite dominant over any others. Here's an impala. I can see an impala. This might be one of the rams, so they might be here on Philemon's cut line now. Yes, very thick bush though, can't get to see him just yet. Let me come around this way. Let's see, it's getting warm, so a lot of the impala are going to be off of the open areas and into the thicker woodland area. That ram there is on his own. He is no doubt part of this bachelor herd, but maybe he's already starting to separate himself from the rest. A lot of the young impala that are in the bachelor herd will have to stay within the bachelor herd because they're too young to rut. They are constantly being pushed around by the older rams. They don't have a chance at all of maintaining their own little territory for the rut. All they can do is fit in with the hierarchy of the older rams. Let's move deeper in now. We're going to have to come back this way when we come back at the end of the drive. Maybe we'll see others. I want to head a little bit further west and catch up on the news of those wild dogs. Other things that live in these very large termite mounds. This is a very particular area where there are some fairly large ones. There's another area on the other side of Zoe's Road, and a lot of it has got to do with the soil type and the age of these termite mounds. A lot of them have a whole host of creatures living in them. And I've noticed on these big ones fairly secretive reptiles, plated lizards. After a cold morning this morning, I would hope that some of them might be in the sun, and unfortunately they're very sensitive to, they tend to run away and hide, they dive down their burrows. Hopefully if I can approach slowly, maybe we get to see one. If we're lucky. There have been a few snake tracks in the roads of late. And my guess is that a lot of snakes are finding their way around before the cold weather comes, trying to catch those last frogs hopping around, or capitalize on the explosion of, well, it's not really an explosion, but at the end of summer there is always a large rodent population. And since they're not very long-lived individuals, I'm not too sure the lifespan of these rodents, some of them only a year, maybe 2 years. Anyway, at the end of summer, find snakes out trying to catch those last few meals for the dry season. They don't hibernate per se, they do become dormant, they do become less active. We do have very warm days during the dry season or during our winter. That does allow some reptile activity. I mean, there are always lizards and geckos around, and at home even the frogs that I have living around my house at night will come out, the toads and frogs will come out and they'll go and hydrate themselves at my bird bath. Well, it's not my bird bath, it's the bird's bird bath, the one I put out for them. Got a couple of rocks and things that I put out for the birds, fill them with water, and have some amazing times just sitting with birds. So I'm looking at each of these termite mounds, hoping that I'm going to find something on them. Once we're over this ridge, I should pick up the radio from Arathusa and maybe get some news on what's happened to those canine cousins. Interesting, Marco. Hi there, Marco. Marco's in New Jersey. Nice to hear from you again, Marco. I don't know if you heard, but we had black-collared barbets calling when we were with the line, but I couldn't see them. Marco was asking about these ponds, the dams, wanting to know if the ranger, the guides help to maintain them, particularly the plant life, if the plant life gets a little bit too excessive. Sometimes yes. And also depending on the plant, because sometimes you can get an alien plant coming in. But generally, no. Generally, there's not really much you can do. I mean, when you take a look at the waterhole at Arathusa, I'm not too sure if anything is ever done. But as the hippos emerge from the water, they do bring a lot of that algae and a lot of that plant life. They do drag a lot of it out of the water with them. And as the water recedes, a lot of it does die off, and then a lot of it will die off probably in the dry season with the colder weather, when the colder weather comes in. But generally not. But there are risks getting exposed to this water, getting your skin exposed to this water. One of the risks is bilharzia. And bilharzia is a parasite that uses a snail for part of its life cycle and uses mammals for another part of its life cycle, including us humans. And you don't want to get bilharzia in the blood, in that parasite. I would imagine that there are other nematodes and other things that are not too great for us humans. We live too much of a clinical life to play in that kind of water for too long. And then of course there's the dangers of hippos and crocodiles. Hippos more than anything else. There aren't that many crocodiles around, but one can't start playing with the vegetation with hippos in the water. You're inviting trouble. There is a plant called Nile cabbage, and another plant which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with, which is the water hyacinth, that for the time being, inshallah, hasn't entered into the aquatic environments in some of these smaller dams. Oh, the little steenbok. Hopefully it stays there. The young female. Now we've seen a young male here. This is a female. Could be that young male's mother. Hello, Mrs. Steenbok. Oh, sorry, little girl. I just pushed my luck a little bit too much and tried to get a little too close. There she is. So well camouflaged against those dead leaves. And she knows it too. Look at that, lying down now, seeing the whole world. And I bet you that if the wild dog or something came running by here, they would trot right past her. She'd put her head down and remain very, very still. This is exactly where the wild dog were running through the other day, and most likely, unless they stopped to sniff around, they would probably completely, well, they'd probably just run past her and be oblivious to her presence. But there's a classic example of how a little antelope, so tiny, can survive with all of the predators. There's so many predators that will eat a steenbok. So there's a tiny little size that even a caracal could take down. Caracal is probably around about the same size, if not maybe a little big male, maybe a little bit bigger than her. Several eagles, tawny eagle, martial eagle. They are small enough to be taken by fairly large pythons. If you think about pythons being able to swallow impala, which is much bigger than these little things. But survival and the survival tactics are incredible. Oh, interesting leopard tracks. Maybe be able to show you. They're a little bit worn because this is a main road and the dust from the cars tends to obscure the track somewhat. That's a fairly good one if I can go forward and back again. Some fairly nice ones. What we need to do is we need to get the sun. The sun's getting a little bit higher to see tracks. It's much better when the sun is very, very low. But this angle should be good enough to see these tracks coming towards us. What do you think, Liam? Tracks of a male leopard. Not a very big male, but also somewhat worn, not very fresh. Any arrow through the stations, copy? Nothing yet. Flapping lazily, probably taking off from one of the nests in the west, trying to find a thermal. And so obviously a lot of energy required for vultures to try and get into the air if there are no thermals. There are some gentle breezes blowing, unfortunately behind the trees now. Heike, guten Morgen. Wie geht's? Heike, a long time viewer, nice to hear from you, Heike. Wanting to know if there are any ostriches around. Not that I know of, Heike. We did have a couple of ostriches many years ago. I meant to ask. I'm going to ask one of the Voyatela, one of the Djuma guides, to see if they've had any sightings of ostriches since. But I think it was way back in 2010. 4.5 to 5 years ago, that there were some ostrich that obviously kind of got a little bit disoriented. See, ostriches require vast open grasslands. This is not habitat for an ostrich. It's, if anything, that could prove fatal for ostrich to be in this kind of habitat, because of the lion would take them. Possibly a big leopard. So we had some ostrich a few years ago, a Pampita cut line that must have come in from the Kruger and were looking for some new land, I guess. I saw their tracks a couple of times. I think Tara was the only one that managed to get them on camera, if I'm not mistaken. Crossing over into the west. Any other through the station, copy? Unusually quiet on this radio this morning. Ryan Arathusa coming. Keep heading west a little bit and see if we can maybe catch up with them. Hiking. you'll be the first to know if there's any sign of ostriches. Okay. I didn't realize that I'm running out of time. When you start having fun, you run out of time. It's almost like a wind-up toy coming to the end of its coil. I thought maybe if we were lucky we could head far enough west that we would find these dogs heading east. And it might have to wait for this afternoon. I think possibly why I'm not getting any answer is because we operate slightly different to the safaris that go out from the game lodges. They're still operating, I think, half an hour earlier than us, which means that they go back for their breakfast or they go back to camp a little bit early, which means that possibly are the only ones out still on Arathusa. And well, that also means that I can't go in front of the camp, but I'm hoping that I can depend on those of you who are viewing the Arathusa camp that you can let us know. I think I'm also getting out of range of final control. Final control coming. I'm just checking if we still got comms. Probably reading about 2 out of 5. Still, an exciting morning nonetheless. Proving, or rather, paving the way for a fantastic drive this afternoon when it starts cooling down. Maybe the dogs will come our way. But I think it's about as close as I can get to Arathusa Safari Lodge without disturbing them at breakfast. Something white in there. I'm guessing it's just a skull. So, my name is Mark. Thank you for joining me this morning. It has been an absolute pleasure to take you around this little patch of Africa here in the Greater Kruger National Park. We're in the Sabi Sand Game Reserve, and this is the Djuma part of the Sabi Sand, the Djuma Game Reserve. Wiem has been on camera. Nikki has been in final control. From all of us here at Wild Earth, thank you very much. Love you lots, and we'll see you later, 3 o'clock Central African time, for our next safari. Who knows what will be seen then. Hey, dragonfly.